Hi, it's Hazel. Welcome to my channel. I am so glad that you're here. Whether you're a new subscriber, whether you've been with me since the beginning, I've said it before, I'll say it again because it's still true, that if it weren't for you being here, I would just be another weirdo talking to herself and all by herself in a room. So just for the sake of my mental health, it's good that you're here. Anyway, let us begin. I think it was Caroline from Caroline's Craft Tree that told me that she was once able to add a particular video to more than one playlist. To be honest, excuse me, I haven't tried that lately, but I think this is one of those things where it definitely warrants two, count them, two playlists. One might be saving time in your craft room, in the craft room. And the other one is, what is the other one? Oh, God. Third video of the day. It's late. It's, maybe it'll come. Oh, I know. It's Kim's. Hashtag arm's length art. I loved that when she first announced it, probably sometime in 2023. And I thought, oh, this is brilliant. Most of us are kind of ankle deep, or the tops of our desks ankle deep in supplies and so on. And the premise of that idea of hers is to craft only using what is within reach. So you're not getting up and walking somewhere. You're not going to look for anything. So I was doing some of that today. But the reason I thought it might also be worthwhile to talk about saving time in the craft room is because, again, I was not able to videotape because I was keeping the line open because I thought that a certain business would call me back because I am a potential new customer / patient. And hey, I don't have an MBA or anything, but it seems to me that if somebody phones and says, hey, I'm interested in being your customer / patient, that's, a lead you would follow up on. Not so. Anyway, so while I was sitting around trying to keep the phone line open, because, technical things would have stopped the video in its tracks had the phone rung. But I was doing a bunch of prep. So this is a minute amount of some of the envelopes that I have. Whoopsie, I shouldn't let that address show. So you can see that I'm not exactly the model, the poster child for how to open an envelope. So typically I just rip into them. Now, pretty well anything can be fixed, as you well know. Anyway, I just had this big one sort of holding things together. So I can see that at some point, I must have been getting ready to do something with envelopes. So in this case, my, is that ever crooked? In this case, it's just half an envelope, but we know that that could be something. This one is different and it has that very deep opening there. Again, not a stellar job opening these. I think now I've finally begun to open them on the short end. Cut it, slice it open carefully. Then I was keeping some receipts in here when we were handling my mom's estate. And this one must have been part of Roy's Christmas present to me. This one is, oh, that is, well, that's Russian. This was, this is an envelope that came from Belarus. Oh. Oh, I see. This was, you know, some of these are from the days when I was a festival coordinator. So there were, I guess, tickets, Zabava tickets or raffle tickets or whatever. So I think some of these I must have put aside because they were so darn interesting. So that in itself has is a worthwhile or is a legitimate way to sort things. Of course, depending on what you do, you might choose to, you know, square things off a bit. And obviously can decide how to use it. You know, does this curve make it a natural access into a pocket or whatever? So some of these, apparently I cut down. I must have used shorter versions of that. Don't you love that when you're a current resident? You got to know that there's something really good in there, she said sarcastically. So again, I must have sorted these based on their insides. We know that there are a lot of possibilities with these window envelopes. They do present a bit of a challenge, so here's another festival one. Another festival one. What is this? Oh, I must have ripped off some very beautiful stamps there. That's okay. Again, you see all those different choices. Look at this one. It must have had a beautiful stamp I couldn't resist. So, and then this one I obviously really ratched up and then coffee dyed. So what is salvageable here? I'm not entirely sure. So, you know, one day maybe we'll do a little mini series on envelopes, although I'm sure there are probably 3 million of those videos out there already for anyone who might be a beginner. But I know that even if a person has been doing this for a while, you know, we forget, we get distracted, we do other things, and it never hurts to have a reminder. So one of the things I was doing today is sort of figuring out and prepping some envelopes. That was a Bobas and Borscht one too. Okay, so my intention was to, because I have all these envelopes, to let that be the basis of the arm's length art. So I picked a few envelopes and I thought, well, I can prepare them a bit by inking. You know, I don't like to ink on camera because that's a waste of your time and mine. And we know that if we ink the edges and the folds, that we have a very good possibility of having a really nice result and not sort of be smacking ourselves in the forehead afterwards and saying, well, why didn't I? Oh, I thought I had this one here for a reason. And I almost got rid of the reason. Sometimes when you open it, or you cut an envelope open at the end, you'll end up with these little bits. There isn't much left here because I was already picking at it. These little bits. So typically you either need to glue them down securely or rip them off. And this is fairly tall. So unless you're, okay, that's 9 inches. So if a person knew that they were pre-making a bunch of stuff for a tall, skinny journal, then this would be fine because it's 4 inches wide and, you know, the 9 inches would work. Normally, though, if you're doing a more traditional size journal, you would need to cut down the edges. And that's where this whole idea of doing some of this in batches and in advance, that's where the saving time in the art room or the craft room comes into play. So essentially that's what I was doing. I will show you the 2 envelopes I actually decorated. And here are obviously 3 more that are ready to go. Now with this one, it has the cellophane window. And okay, you can see that I use smoke gray, Ranger's smoke gray ink. Let me back up. I used to try my best to totally cover. That is a fool's errand because, number one, it takes a long time. And number 2, things are usually never perfectly square or straight. So again, you're constantly tweaking. Plus, it impedes the folding. So it is much smarter, excuse me, in my humble opinion, to ink all the perimeters and the folds so that I can put my piece of whatever, have maybe just a hair's breadth of space showing, and save myself, you know, some grief. So in one of the envelopes, in one of the samples that I did, I was dealing with windows. Now, windows, again, when I was young and foolish, I would try to shape and maneuver and cut and line up my whatever I was covering the envelope with so that I maintained those little curves there and I didn't overlap and I didn't go short. I mean, craziness. So we know that you can't very well ink plastic because it's just going to slide off. So removing the window seems like a good idea. And I don't even know if I would bother replacing the cellophane. It would be a good idea to do it, but of course a person has to have the presence of mind to do that before you start collaging on it. What I found out is that trying to lift this off, this is going to make a liar out of me. Lifting it off by the corner does not really work. So what I did with this one was I just made a slit. I poked a hole through it down the middle, and then I'm working from the center out because I don't really care if there's this stuff here. I'm going to cover it up anyway. But at least now I have, just trying to find the right color brush here. Now at least I have exposed this so that I can ink it. Okay, now was that, that might have been, maybe I was using black here because at some point I know I'm going to work on a black and white journal, so I thought I might as well prep sort of a black one. The smoke gray is kind of subtle, and I mean that would have been fine here too with this paper. Now again, when you've got a beautiful design on the inside, you know, it isn't a company logo or anything, it's just nice, you can choose to work it into your design plan, or you can totally cover it, or you could even leave it naked, providing you got rid of all this stuff on the edge. Okay, so essentially what I'm saying is, if you have time on your hands and don't know what to do, you can just pre-prep a bunch of your envelopes, and you can take them to this point, and then, you know, then when you have more time, you can just quickly collage on them and half the work is done. So let me, before I show you what I did, let me show you some of the things that I had within arm's length and what I had at my disposal. So I had, obviously, inks and brushes. I had book pages of a variety, you know, some music, some different sized ones, some different colors, some different typesetting, sort of. So there was that. I had, this was a gigantic, a page off a gigantic pad, you know, like maybe 24 inches wide or something, that had the days of the week, excuse me, and, you know, it was about yay big. So I had that. Now, I had used it when I was trying out some new stamps, and you can see that it wasn't working very well. But am I going to throw this paper away? No, I'm not. So you'll see what I did with it. Then, similar to all these little guys, which I didn't, some things I fussy cut, others I haven't, don't know if I will, blah, blah, blah. But they are, excuse me, they are sitting around waiting to be used and sort of getting, you know, knocked from pillar to post, not getting put away and not getting used. So I had this and the determination that I was going to use some of those things. Then, related to that, out of the same book, were these bigger pieces. And you can see that I had thought some of them might be pockets, so I had folded them down and sort of made them narrower. What is this? Oh, this could be a side tuck. This, you know, clearly I didn't want to fussy cut something like that, but it could be a belly band, you know, and so on. A page like this, I don't know what I'll do with it, but I suppose I could separate these two and just tear around them, because it's, I don't know. Obviously I was stymied by that. So, I mean, I don't need to show you every single piece. You can see that there are a bunch of odds and ends here, but bigger size pieces that, again, should be dealt with and, you know, call it a day. So I had that. Now, I, in my Etsy and now on Maker's Market, and I can't remember if I put it in my coffee shop yet or not. That is going to be the challenge, keeping all these different sales venues straight. One thing I do is purple cabbage dyed piano roll paper, because I have a lot of piano roll. I did kind of really, I made a big purchase of it one time. Anyway, when I cut it, like to sell it, they're 8.5 by 11 pieces, which means that on every roll there are some scrap pieces. So you get an end piece like this that has tape on it. So these odds and ends, obviously I keep for myself to use. So I thought, well, okay, I just cut up those pieces last night during the Oilers game. So why don't, I mean, and I have more here that are obviously bigger that I can still do something with. You know, the end piece there, another piece of tape, another end piece, more tape. So clearly these bigger ones will probably turn into signature pages for a tiny little project, but I wanted to use the smallest ones first. So I had that. Now, another thing that I had available to me, but I didn't end up using, are these. Now, all of the, no, not this one. Not this one. All of these other designs are done with stamps that I carved myself just into erasers. So, because I'm a sucker for punishment, I thought, well, why don't I print the page onto a sticker type thing? The catch here, though, is that it is for CDs. So you can see that some of the pieces I've used, CDs or cassettes, maybe both, I don't know. Anyway, some of these colors would be great in my blush journal, so I kind of, you know, have them kind of separated. This is the whole sheet here, or most of the sheet. But again, that's a lot of piecing together of something to make something, because I'll just give you an example. You know, you end up with this big donut-shaped thing. Anyway, I won't belabor this because obviously I didn't use that today, but I had it here if I would have needed it. So let me show you the more plain Jane envelope that I ended up doing. This was the one with the 2 windows, so you can see that I've cut it out. And basically, I just created a sort of a patchwork with all of the scrap, or most of the scraps from this desk pad. And here, in these 2 spots, I didn't even bother covering the envelope because it's all grays and it works in. And again, this is where the beauty of pre-inking really makes a lot of sense because, well, in this case, it maybe wasn't necessary because the envelope had a nice design anyway. But around the edge, I don't know if you can see just that tiny bit showing. So I even used the parts that had the not so successful stamps on them, thinking that, you know, it'll probably be further decorated at some point. But this can now go into the pile of things to finish. Oh, and one of these days, I'm going to do something with all the bits of ephemera that are sitting around waiting for some action. And then this is, where did I put it? Did I manage to lose it? Oh, there it is. Okay, this is what took me much of the day. So this is an envelope. Obviously, it was opened up. Now here on this flange, I've just said glue because the way I envision this, hey, I'm going to remember to use my prototype journal just for such purposes. Let's hope I didn't bugger this up. Okay, so I'm saying that's where I would place the glue. So assume that this was the page I wanted it on. Well, maybe that's not so. Well, that's fine. No, it's okay. I was going to say, miscalculation or recalculating. Um, if I were to glue this down, so clearly the glue would be put on this side, then whatever decoration I do on this side would cover this bit. And I might even make it narrower because, you know, that might be overkill. But then on this side, this is where we see all the goodies. Now, I suppose, let's see if it would work in reverse. That could work as well. And in fact, I always considered this the front page. So, because I haven't obstructed any of the folding here, I could glue this down with the actual glue on the glue side, like so. We would look at it and we think, oh my goodness, that's so beautiful. And we open it up and we see pockets and we see a tuck spot. Oh, that would be bad. Nothing like talking this through with you guys too. Oh no, we could do it this way. I was going to say, yeah, then this would be lost. But no, it wouldn't. We just would have to flip it the other way. Phew. Okay, let's get rid of this for the time being. Put this aside and show you this in some detail. Okay, so what I did, you'll see that piano, like the piano paper. I've got, oh, that was some packaging. It recurs through. Do I have any left? That's part of it. It was the envelope from a scented sachet type thing that you put in your drawers. You know, so they smell purty. I guess I used most of it up. Okay, so that envelope, some book guts that were kicking around, some of the little flowers from here that were kind of mauvey. These Tim Holtz people. Now this is this. When I make a cup of tea, I always put my tea bag on a folded up piece of paper towel. And of course, it seeps, oh, I've got two here. It seeps in and it very passively dyes the paper towel. It keeps from, you know, making a puddle on the counter, and I just do it repeatedly till I think it's time to deal with them. And you can see there are different shades on here, something more yellow, something more brown. This one as well. Now, this is really interesting. The texture is awesome. And because they're not El Cheapo paper towels, they're also, they have, you know, they're double. They're sort of two-ply. That's the word I'm searching for. So I don't know if I'll be able to pry this apart. You can see that as I took it apart here, it sort of tore. This almost looks honeycombish. Anyway, so is that not a cheap and cheerful way to get some grungy looking stuff? Anyway, so that's what this is. Some book page, and then I slapped on a label. Okay, then on this, well, this was actually the last one I decorated, I think, but so here is more of that packaging. I had, why did I have these two little strips? I could have thrown them away. Instead, I used them to reinforce these pockets. And you can see I just have a little bit of the little tiny scraps of the purple cabbage paper. Another thing that I had on my Oh, and I backed this with some of that same calendar pad. Didn't really decorate this a heck of a lot. Oh, and these two pockets came out of, where is it? I had a bunch of these. So these were sort of almost like watermark type designs on the edge of a page. This came out of some kind of a day book, I guess. And so I used them. Now, because they were pretty white, I just sort of smudged up the paper with essentially a dry brush like this. And then this is just a little tiny tag. These little strips, now do I still have, okay, this. A long time ago, I thrifted rolls of this stuff and had no idea what it was. All I could tell was that it was old. Now, the rest of it, which I wonder where I put it, is, tight little rolls. But there were pieces, some of the rolls had been unraveling. So some viewers said, oh, that is like a streamer type paper that people would have used. Like, those, I think that they used to be called ticker tape parades or something like that, where, anyway, people would, I guess, throw it out into the, I don't know. That's what I'm imagining that the woman meant. That these things were like paper streamers. I don't know if that's right or not. But they've been kicking around, these little odds and ends have been kicking around a long time, so I thought, time to put them to use here. And then these numbers were, again, I don't know where I got them, but I don't know that, well, which drawer is it in? I don't know that I've ever used them yet, but why shouldn't I be? Whoops. So I just took a couple of those and stuck them on there. Then this side had a nice bigger piece off the piano paper. And because there were, or did I not do it there? Maybe I didn't. And I had decorated it, the other half, with book page and music paper. But I wanted to use some of those bigger flowers. So I attached that to some old, like scrapbook paper. And I have, goodness knows, I have lots of that right here at my feet. Oh, and Kim, as far as the arm's length art goes, I feel that as long as I keep one butt cheek on my chair, I'm still playing by the rules. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Now, this is just a couple more of these strips glued together, and then it turned out to be an odd shape because, of course, these things have these oddball cuts in them. Anyway, then I added this. I punched out because I was dealing with tea bags. I don't know, maybe I cleaned up. This is the symbol off the Stash tea bag tags. So anyway, I just punched that out, stuck it on there, made this thing small enough so that it slides into this tuck spot. When I had it bigger, it kept catching on this fragile paper, and I didn't want it to keep getting wrecked. Oh, there's part of the bag from the tea bag, like the pouch that the bag was in, and a little fussy cut thing. And then finally on the back page, I just used music. I made a pocket out of some of this beautiful dyed paper. I backed it with book page because I thought, oh, we'll see through the holes. So I didn't want it to be just, the envelope showing. And then this is more of that old paper that I backed with, more packaging from the sachet, music, piano paper, And then I made kind of a little clustery thing at the top here to be like the pull and of course a flower. Now this idea I adapted from Carol, Crinkled Path, because in one of her memory making or memory keeping memory making too, in one of her memory keeping videos, she made she decorated the top of a tag by pulling out the tape from an 8-track? No, a VHS tape, bunching it up and making a very interesting type thing. And I'm thinking, hey, I don't have VHSs, but I'm sure that we could find an old cassette tape somewhere. So that would just be narrower, but wouldn't that be cute as well? So it's always a case of, you see a good idea and then adapt it to what you actually have on hand. And then I just used a couple of labels there to decorate with. And that, my lovelies, is that. So, arm's length art. Use it, don't store it. What else? Save time in the craft room. Yeah, we've got everything. We've got you covered here. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have found some value here. I hope that you go and dig out your envelopes. I have to stop acting like they're going to stop making envelopes and just either start using them much more frequently or getting brutal and throwing a bunch out because you have no concept how many I have. Anyway, guys, it has been a slice talking to you, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.